We have never had a market like this in Denver. Inventory is high, demand is soft, but prices still going up. It makes no sense, and that's what makes it so dangerous for buyers and sellers who try to use the old playbook. In this video, I'm going to break down exactly why the numbers don't line up, what this means for buyers who want leverage, what sellers need to know if they want to succeed, and the contradiction that makes this market so unpredictable. If you're new here, my name is Landon, and I'm a local realtor here in Denver, and I help people find the right home in the right neighborhood, whether you're buying your first place or your forever one. So let's start with the weirdest part: why prices are holding steady, even while homes sit longer and more sellers are cutting their prices. All right, so let's talk about why this market absolutely does not make sense right now. The inventory levels have climbed up to levels that we haven't seen since 2011, you guys, with 13,000 homes on the market in the greater Denver metro area. Also, demand is soft. We're doing much fewer transactions. There's fewer showings, there's fewer offers, and there's less urgency from buyers. Another factor that's going on here, average days on market is still 40. That's a healthy number, but it's way slower than what we were dealing with when it was 8 back in 2021. Also, I think I told you in a few videos ago, we're one of the leaders in the country right now for how many price cuts we're having and the percentage of listings with price cuts in the Denver area. But yet with that said, our average prices are still up by about $10,000 since 2022. So what we're seeing is many sellers are just, taking their home off the market instead of slashing their prices in some cases. That's why this feels so contradictory. More listings, less demand, but values holding steady. So if you're a buyer, what does this strange mix of conditions actually mean for you? So if you're a buyer in this market trying to navigate what to do with the confusion that's going on right now, you should know that interest rates are now down to 6.27 as of today when I'm filming this on average in the nation. And I've got some lenders that are even quoting 5.99 on a 30-year fixed conventional loan. So that's fantastic. We haven't seen a number in the fives in a very long time. And it's down from 7.25 just 2 months ago. So we've seen a very good drop in interest rates, which is creating a more affordable mortgage option for you. Also, negotiations are still here. You can still negotiate on credits, concessions from sellers, price reductions that are still fairly common. So there's a lot of opportunities for you. The best opportunities are going to be on those homes that are sitting for 30+ days, especially, mid price range to luxury. You'll see that 650 to 7 to $1 million is a really sweet spot to get a great deal right now. The stuff that's over $1 million is actually doing pretty well because those buyers right now are a little less price sensitive and interest rates aren't bothering them as much. About 20% of those transactions are cash transactions. And so those are still moving pretty quickly. And in fact, that luxury price point is actually carrying up our average pricing. And so it may not be a real number when you see numbers that show that prices have gone up 1.1% over the last 12 months. It's not as accurate as it seems. That luxury market is absolutely carrying up the average price because we've seen more luxury transactions happen than normal. And those buyers are just moving forward, even with interest rates being a little higher. It's really affected the middle class and entry-level buyers. So there's much more pausing going on there, and there's more opportunity there right now to get a great deal if you do have the ability to afford the mortgage payments, in those ranges. You can absolutely buy a great home. The other thing that's very true right now is if you go up in budget $100,000 or $200,000, you may be able to get twice the home that you could get, at your start budget. You may be able to get 2 or 3 more bedrooms, a finished basement, plus a great backyard or a premier location. Some of these areas, especially areas that are competing with builders and with a lot of new construction, we're talking about Douglas County outside of Highlands Ranch, in Parker, Castle Rock, some of those surrounding areas. There's some great options right now, and those home sellers are just wondering where all the buyers are because all the buyers are flooding to these new construction homes that are offering 4.5% interest rates or lower, and it's hard for them to compete. And so they have to incentivize and they have to offer concessions to be able to make a deal happen. And so those are great areas to target. Aurora is also another great area to target that's battling with a ton of new construction right now. Commerce City, same thing if you're interested in living on that side of town. That can be an area where you can get a great deal at this point. Okay. There are some areas that are holding very strong as well. So you have to be aware of that. Highlands Ranch is one of them. You've got, areas along West Jeffco, especially Arvada right now, Westminster. Some of those are holding their value very, very well at the moment. You do have areas that are also feeling a little bit softer market right now in Littleton and Lakewood that are phenomenal areas to live in, but you can actually find a pretty good deal right now in those areas. Centennial is another one of those that you can find better deals than normal right now. And so, unless you're looking in that Arvada, Westminster area or Highlands Ranch right now, and I'm talking about kind of the South Denver metro area at this point, there are still pockets out there that you can find really good deals and get money off the price, get concessions, get buy downs on rates paid for by the seller so that you can move in and have a very, much more comfortable interest rate and payment for you. For buyers, this is actually one of the best opportunities we've seen in years, if you know how to play it. Gone are the days of waiving inspections and appraisals and throwing $50,000 offers over asking price to win a deal. The key is moving smart, not fast. You don't have to overpay anymore, but you do need to know where the leverage is. Now, if you're selling, this is where things get tricky because it is not 2021, but it's also not 2008. All right, so let's talk about the selling side of things. Well-priced homes are still selling very quickly, often within a couple weeks. Overpriced homes, they're absolutely sitting. And if you're not winning the beauty contest, prepping the home right, most of the time those homes are sitting. And it leads to a ton of price cuts. And price slashing is going on across the market right now because homeowners put their home on for a price that they think is fair based on what they think their home should have done in the last 3 years to continue to grow. But really, it's been a flat market over the last 3 years. And so if you bought a home in 2022, your home's worth about what it was in 2022 right now. And so if you're expecting this big growth pattern, if you haven't done anything to your house to improve it, you're just not going to get that back. And so having the right expectations is very important. And the average days on market right now is 43 days, which is still a very healthy days on market number. Also, sellers with equity and low rates are holding firm. It seems to me like only certain sellers are panicking, most are not. And so if you're in an area that's battling with new construction a ton, then it is a panic right now. It's tough to keep up with that, and it is dragging your values down, sometimes 8 to 10% in areas where you're competing with a lot of new construction. But the average price has been carried up by the luxury market. So that's what's making the numbers show that our single family prices have actually gone up just over 1% year to date. And our condos and townhomes that were just down 7% last month, now our year to date numbers are showing 3.86% decrease in pricing for those. So we have seen a little bit of loss in the condos and townhome world, but it's not as severe as it was just a month ago. For sellers, this is a very different game in 2021. You can't just throw a number out there and expect multiple offers in 48 hours. But this is also not 2008 during the Great Recession. The right listings are still selling fast, sometimes within 2 weeks, if they're priced correctly and prepped well. The mistake that I see over and over is sellers trying to chase the market down by starting too high on price and then slashing their prices and then cutting them again. That strategy almost always backfires. The smart move is to nail your pricing up front and then present your home in its best light. The truth is, only certain sellers are panicking right now. Most are holding firm because they've got equity and they have low mortgage rates that they're sitting on. If you're strategic, you can still sell successfully in this market and walk away with a pretty good number. But here's the real question. Why is this market so weird in the first place? So the biggest contradiction in our market right now is why are both buyers and sellers still frozen? And the biggest reason is mortgage rates still remain fairly elevated, freezing both buyers and sellers. If you look at the last 50 years, it's actually not a bad rate. But with where pricing continues to climb and the interest rate combined, it's a payment that 70% of the market just isn't comfortable with. And when you've got a bunch of sellers who are still sitting on these low 3 and 2% interest rates, it's very hard for them to justify going up 4% to land a rate that's going to cost them a lot more for less house in some instances. Sellers have really good equity as well. You've got, a third of the homes out there that are fully paid off that don't even have a loan or a balance. So in that case, there are very few must-sell homes out there that absolutely have to move. We are seeing instances where people move and change jobs. We're seeing, families with more and more kids that are bursting out of the seams, but that's even happening few and further in between because American family sizes have shrunk these days. So you don't have as many, bigger families with 4, 5, 6 kids these days. Also, inventory is uneven, high in some price points, but low in others. So it really depends on where you are. And, it's a hyper local market. Location matters more than ever as far as navigating this market. So it's just another reason to make sure you reach out and talk to a professional and call me. My number is down below so that we can help you know, okay, in this specific area that you're looking in where you want to be, what opportunities are there? What do you need to be aware of? And how can we get you the best deal possible? Or if you're trying to sell, how can we maintain your value and be very strategic in how we price your home and prep your home to make sure that you're not one of those stale listings that just keeps sitting on the market. This market is so weird because both sides are frozen. High mortgage rates are keeping buyers on the sidelines, but they're also keeping sellers from listing since they don't want to give up their low rate home loans. On top of that, sellers have record equity, which means that very few people are in a position where they absolutely have to sell. That's why inventory is high in some price points, but still tight in others. Add in a soft rental market where investors are struggling to make numbers work for cash flow, and you've got a market that doesn't fit any of the usual labels. It's not a buyer's market, it's not a seller's market, it's a case-by-case market, and the predictability is lower than ever. I've had listings that I thought would fly off the shelf, sit for weeks. And then I've had others that I thought would be more slow, sell in days. That is why this market feels so strange. It's breaking all the rules. So what do you do if you're trying to make a move in this confusing environment? If this market feels confusing, it's because it is. But with the right strategy, you can still make a smart move. Whether you're buying or selling, reach out to me directly. I'll help you cut through the noise and make this weird market work in your favor. And if you want to go even deeper, check out my video on massive price cuts hit Denver, where I show you exactly what's driving these price drops and how you can take advantage of them before the market shifts again. That will give you even more clarity on how to play this market the right way. Click on this link below and I'll see you there.